We are upon the full moon in Aquarius for the year of 2026. The moon is right now 16 degrees Capricorn, so in about one day, in about 24 hours, we'll be experiencing the start of the full moon in Aquarius. The full moon will be at 5 or 6 degrees Aquarius, because that's when it will be fully opposing in the sun. And this full moon in Aquarius has the potential to be very, very powerful and very, very deep because it will be opposing the sun. Of course, that's what full moons are, but also it's opposing Jupiter in Leo. It's also conjuncting Pluto and it's trining Mars. So, Pluto and Mars being in that air element, especially full moon conjuncting Pluto, adding the trine with Gemini to bring the Mars energy will be deep, internal, spiritual, transformative, but nothing to be afraid of. If you accept your inner self, if you accept your other parts, if you accept that there is space to improve and change, and if you accept there is place to be power and control issues within yourself and around yourself without being offended, without being warlike, everything is going to be alright. It can be a bit more intense, it can be a bit stressful, it can be a bit more nervous, but in the end of the day, you will come out of the full moon in Aquarius stronger and with more belief, faith, and trust in your goddamn self because it's full moon in Aquarius. You know what I'm saying? It's the masculine external side of Saturn, ruled by Saturn, co-ruled by Uranus. Mercury is exalted in Aquarius, coming from the 11th house. It's all about being your damn self in the middle of the crowd, in the middle of the world, without feeling swarmed, without feeling like you're drowning, without feeling that like the crowd can influence you. Because let's be honest, if you're in the middle of a lot of people, in whatever the case may be, even in a mental scenario, you are influenced by it. We are all energetical beings, we all spirits, we all creators, and we all emit and receive energy, thoughts, feelings, and we all move in directions. So if you're around other people, even if you have a relationship at work or with a friendship, you are exchanging Venus type shit, you know what I'm saying? So whatever the case may be, we are influenced by others and we influence others. And the more others are around us, the more we receive. But Aquarius, it's all about you having limits and boundaries, like Saturn, like Capricorn, in your networking and in your association. While Capricorn are more internal, more emotional, more in your house type of limits and boundaries, Aquarius is more about the world, about going outside, at not just the workplace, but how the work itself affects you and how you affect the work, for example. And being in the middle of the crowd is a great example. How much can the crowd, how much can the world, how much can people around you affect you, and how much can you affect them, and how are you being affected, and how are you affecting them? That's all Aquarius. And Aquarius is all about thinking, communicating, and analyzing in a fixed, consistent, or stubborn way about uniqueness, individuality, rebelliousness, and opposition, with the goal of constructing or changing something into a place which is more stable, but still more free, with more space, more human, but also more logical and more progressive. That's why Aquarius and Aquarius energy can be weird, because it's all about logicality, progress, and space, but at the same time, it's about connection, attachment, and humanity, and creating logical and consistent spaces for animalistic natures, for an example. That's why Aquariuses themselves can be seen as weird, but they always have that energy, like everybody likes them, but sometimes they're afraid to be around them or they don't want to experience that weirdness, but they all know that that Aquarius person, if they're not an asshole, they will be a good person, or at least they have some interesting ideas, or at least they will protect their space or your space. There's always that little hint that Aquariuses have something to say and they have something that they really care about and that you can learn from them about that. So the full moon being in Aquarius will be all about that. It will be reacting, overreacting, and over responding and realizing, reflecting on your attractions in those areas. First, in your 11th house type energy, associating with whatever house you have Aquarius in. So where is 11 house energy? Is any subject, any topic of conversation, any area where there is a lot of people thinking and communicating about it, where there is a lot of attention being paid to those subjects, and where a lot of people participate in creating, discovering. So, for example, science, politics, sports, astrology, spirituality, movies, any type of industry is a part of the 11th house, and especially those where people talk about. So movies, for example, science, sometimes people talk about discoveries or about cool things. Spirituality and astrology is becoming more common, for example. Sports is the representation of 11th house because it's very easy for people to talk about them, and a lot of people talk and care about sports. So that's the main but not the only trait of the 11th house. And then it's about you as an individual, coming from the 5th house, coming from Leo, being in that 11th house. To which specific part of the house do you go? To science, to the movies, to sports, to religion, to spirituality, to politics, and how do you bring your individuality to that area? And how do you protect it? How do you share it to others? And how you avoid you being shifted and changed and sculpted by those areas? Because we want to be sculpted, we want to be influenced, but we want to guide that influence. We want to guide, we want to be the authors of our own shape and form, mentally, emotionally, physically, personality wise. And being in those spaces is hard for us, a spirit, because it's a lot of energy coming your way, it's a lot of pressure. Imagine if you go into science, there's a lot of thoughts already, there's a lot of rules made already. If you go into politics, a lot of people care about it, a lot of people a lot of people get pissed about it, a lot of people already have their own ideas. If you go into sports, a lot of people get mad about you. There is a lot of history already, a lot of stories, a lot of moments. If you go into astrology, there are a lot of things to be careful about. If you go into spirituality, there are a lot of bamboozlement energy, there are a lot of already a lot going on. And you going into those spaces as an individual, as a unique spirit, as a creator, you can be swayed away, you can be transformed, you can be changed, and you can feel limited with your expression. Especially with full moon in Aquarius, it will bring a light to our internal realm. So you can feel like suffocating. You can feel like your internal realm has nothing to do in terms of power. You can feel like your light is too little to shine in that area, in whatever area you may be caring about. And you might usually not care about that much, about things that are 11 house type energy, but with full moon in Aquarius, you or others will care a bit more, or you will show to yourself or others will show to themselves or to you their care. And this might be reflective of the true nature, or you can see if somebody is just jumping into the bandwagon. And that's why it's important to use right now the moon in Capricorn to develop new internal limits and boundaries, new internal responsibilities, and new internal systems, routines, and rituals to make you more realistic, to make your nervous system able to handle more pressure and more energy. And you achieve that by organizing better your mind, your emotions, your feelings, and your body. Some exercising, some meditating, allowing yourself to go into certain spaces mentally, allowing your imagination to go certain places, because a lot of people stop themselves in their own imagination. So they don't go certain places because they start to feel nervous, they start to feel stressed, they start to imagine other people telling them to not believe in that. So in right now with Moon in Capricorn, it's all about reacting and responding or creating to new emotions and feelings that are more realistic, more dry, that are more relatable or caused by the real world, responsibilities, and physical circumstances. But the goal to prepare ourselves for full moon in Aquarius is to develop that sense of capability, that sense of ability, you being able to handle anything that comes in the moon in Aquarius, because your internal realm, your subconscious realm, your emotional realm is more organized, it's more practical, it's stronger, your foundations are well built. Maybe you need to reinforce metaphorically some of your foundations. Maybe you need to change your mentality to a bit of a more practical space. Maybe you need to, and this is not about ignoring your emotions. A lot of people misunderstand moon in earth signs where they say it's about ignoring your emotions or controlling your emotions. No, it's about organizing your emotions. And that's very different from controlling. I always like to think about this like it is Lilo and Stitch, where you have the random experiences creating chaos, and then Lilo finds the right place for them to work in, and instead of being destructive, they are now very helpful. And Moon in Capricorn, it's opposing Cancer, the origin of the emotions, the origin of your care, the origin of your purpose, and of your meaning. And it's about creating a structure mentally, emotionally, and physically for that purpose, for that meaning, for that emotion, for that animal, for those crazy thoughts and ideas, those crazy experiments to go into and be useful to you. It's about taking those emotions and feelings and making them profitable. It's not about ignoring them. It's not about shoving them into a box or you never remember them. It's about creating a system within you, like a chip, like a computer chip, like those patterns that you see in the ships to flow the energy and accumulate them in certain places, distribute them to certain places, go in certain places fast, in other places go slow, accumulate in the belly, accumulate in the head, flow better in the neck. And it's all about, in the end of the day, you being more able to handle things, emotions, and feelings without ignoring them and without it slowing you down or making you afraid of yourself and reality. Because then full moon in Aquarius, conjuncting Pluto, will bring to yourself the image, the reflection that the world is changing, the world is transforming, which is a lot of change in a short period of time. And we have to handle that. We have to go with the flow, create our own flow, or being swiped, being under the wave. And perhaps you are being under the wave and you've been avoiding those feelings and emotions. And full moon in Aquarius will bring that to you in a manner that you might not be able to handle it. Or you are going with the flow or creating your own flow of transformation, but it's still scary. It's still a lot of energy. It's still not sure. It still doesn't look safe. It still doesn't look efficient. It still doesn't look like anything is guaranteed for the future. And now, with Moon in Capricorn, is a perfect time to make everything a bit more solid, to make everything a bit more safe, to prepare ourselves by creating new emotional patterns that are practical and efficient, to strengthen your belief, to create new roots, to create new safety systems within you, around you, in a more personal space. Because Capricorn is still opposing Cancer, so it's the materialization, the externalization of your closest, purest, most soft spaces. So it's not like the workplace, even though Capricorn has a lot to do with work and careers, where it's not about the workplace, it's not about outside. It might be about outside if that space means something to you. If you spend a lot of time in there, if you care about that space, or if people and things in that space care about you, then you should create new systems there, new routines, new patterns, new feelings, new emotions, new networking, new associations. And then full moon in Aquarius will also be trining Mars in Gemini. So there will be a gift to communicate, think, and analyze the passion, the compassion, the frustration, the anger, and the motivation brought or reflected by the full moon in Aquarius. That communication will be most likely more cold, more detached, and more surface level. And that might seem bad, but actually it's perfect because Aquarius energy sometimes doesn't know how to handle their energy, their emotions, their feelings. So the passion being communicated, the frustration being thought on a surface level, can help bring deeper stuff to a place where it seems, and it is, easier and lighter to communicate about. And then it's easier for everybody to lighten up their mood through communication, through thinking and analyzing theirs and others' passions, compassion, frustration, and aggressiveness. But also, it will be easier for you and everybody else to jump the gun, to show more their frustration, to show more their aggressiveness, to reflect and be influenced by whatever is going on in the world that is aggressive or bad or destructive, but also it's going to be easier to feel more inspired, to feel more connected, to feel more like the world is healing and changing, and you can see more spirituality, you can see more humanitarianism. It all depends on what you do right now with the moon in Capricorn. Where are you planting your seeds? Where are you strengthening your roots? Where are you growing as a tree? Are you creating new emotions and feelings? Are you creating new areas, new patterns for your emotions and feelings about bountifulness, about creativity, about abundance, or about doomerism, about not caring, about dryness? And then that's what is going to reflect and attract whatever the full moon in Aquarius is going to bring. The full moon in Aquarius is just going to bring it closer to you, more obviously, from bigger avenues, from bigger schools of thought and conversation, like I said earlier in the video: politics, sports, science, astrology, spirituality, and whatever. So if you get inspired or if you get triggered, it will depend on what you do right now. Because Mars in Gemini will bring those conversations to you or from you, and a lot of deep things, especially a lot of revelations from Moon conjuncting Pluto, will come out easier through conversation and thoughts. So it's up to you and to the things that you build around you, to the ones that you accept around you, to the ones that you do or do not limit around you with their thoughts, feelings, and ideas, because then that will be reflected by the full moon conjuncting Pluto and trining Mars in Gemini. And to end this video, then I'll do a video once the moon is in Aquarius, going through the whole alignment. But the full moon in Aquarius will also be opposing Jupiter in Leo. So this can be great opposition or great balance. So it can be too much opposition because you might feel too dry, or you might feel like the world is too dry, too logical, too progressive, and that you or the world or the ones around you, they don't care about spirituality, they don't care about entertainment, they don't care about your personal testimonies. But it can be a great balancing option because you can bring and feel an easier way to communicate with consistency, uniqueness, individuality, sense, and purpose your creativity, your spirituality, your personal testimonies, your wisdom, your knowledge, and how you expand. And it's going to be easier to bridge your story, your spirituality, and the world. It's going to be easier to bridge Jupiter, spirituality, and the subconscious with Saturn, reality, structure, limits, boundaries, networking, and association. So it's going to be a very interesting full moon in Aquarius. Usually, it's not super deep, it's not super chaotic, it's not super destructive, but there will be more energy in relationships, in conversations, in groups of people, groups of friends, groups at work. Just be a bit more private, focus a bit more on yourself. The sun is in Leo, Jupiter is in Leo, so respect and uphold more your values, your limits, your boundaries, your time, and your space. Don't be too much connected to big groups of thinking, to big reactions. Don't be so much connected to whatever the world is reacting to or whatever the world is talking about. Be a bit more focused on your own attention or on your own entertainment, but don't limit yourself to that, because then the world will be quote unquote mad at you, and it will bring more and more thoughts, ideas, and relationships in your way until you are able to connect, because full moon is all about connection. It's all about connecting the moon and the sun. That's why they are in opposite signs. That's why the moon is always full when it's opposing the sun. It's all about bridging both worlds, the spiritual and the real, the subconscious and the conscious, the emotion and the physical. Thank you for watching. You can get readings with me through the email or by using the links down below. And I wish you the best thoughts, ideas, feelings, and emotions, and a whole bunch of individuality, creativity, and responsibility as well. See you on the next one.